Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel and thanks for watching. Since this was our first international flight in years, we opted to fly premium economy from Boston to Rome. The flight was being offered through Delta at time of booking for approximately $1,800 per person. What we didn't realize at the time of booking is the flight was being offered through Delta, but being operated by ITA Airways. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of our premium economy experience with ITA Airways. The boarding experience was new for us. At Logan, we went down an escalator to the jetway to board our plane. Raj usually hands out chocolate bars to flight attendants. This is something we've done for years. On Southwest, American, JetBlue, Alaska, whatever airline we fly with, he usually hands out a chocolate bar to the gate agent after they scan our pass and to every flight attendant we pass as we enter the plane and make our way to our seats. Why? Well, first, because it's just a nice thing to do. They don't get paid until the doors close and we're leaving, and we figure chocolate makes everyone happy, and if they can't eat it, they can at least give it away to someone else. But also because he gets very anxious around strangers and doesn't make eye contact and won't speak to them. This is a way for him to interact without being forced to do so in a way that's uncomfortable for him. He enjoys being the giver of sweet treats without having the pressure of having to respond verbally when they welcome him on board. We proceeded to our seats to find the plane we were on was still an old Alitalia branded plane and not a new Airbus for ITA Airways. As we settled into our seats, we noticed that they were quite roomy. There was a pillow and blanket provided, as well as a pair of headphones. There's also a bottle of water available and an amenity kit. The restroom is very close to the premium economy section and shared with the business class section, right around the corner, right where that curtain is.
Raj is currently exploring the seat. What do you think so far, Raju?
Unfortunately, many of the screens weren't working, and for the screens that were, not all the options were available. There were also tears in the upholstery, and the footrest didn't open properly for every seat. There is one USB port available at the seat for charging a device.
What do you think so far? What do you think so far?
It's fine.
You excited? You excited?
No.
Prior to takeoff, flight attendants offered water or orange juice. Hot washcloths were offered to freshen up just before the dinner service started. The dinner portion was nicely sized and included an entree, spring mix salad with fresh mozzarella, ciabatta roll with butter, fresh fruit plate, and tiramisu dessert. Dinner was served on actual plates with cutlery and drinks in glasses. The only drinks that were being offered were Coke, water, or orange juice. Unfortunately, the bland meal ordered by Delta for Raj never made its way to the ITA plane, so he was forced to choose between the beef stew dinner or the vegetable lasagna dinner. He ordered the beef, I ordered the lasagna, and he ate neither. He did eat the roll with butter and the mozzarella balls from the salad that came with dinner.
Diesel run. Let's see what's in here. Lip balm and refreshing mists. I know what the lip balm is. I don't know what that refreshing mist is. Toothbrush, toothpaste, and a comb. Toothbrush, toothpaste, and a comb. And big one. Then we have socks and an eye mask. Wait, socks? What? Why are socks?
And just like that, cabin lights dimmed, time to get some rest. Fast forward a few hours, and breakfast was delivered. Breakfast in premium economy consisted of a muffin. We suspected it was a zucchini muffin because I began having an allergic reaction after a couple of bites and had to take an antihistamine, as well as a Chobani yogurt drink. No other options were available. The drink options for breakfast included coffee, tea, water, and orange juice. We've reviewed the good and the bad, and as we start our descent to Rome, unfortunately, it's time for the ugly. I contacted assistive services for the airline the day before to ensure our booking had notes related to Raj's autism. They requested pre-board and take care of the usual stuff most parents of super kids do before a big trip. Delta's assistive services representative was wonderful, even offering advice for when we were in Rome on potential pitfalls to coach my son on, related to both customs and safety. We were not allowed to select our seats, and our family was seated all over the premium economy cabin on the ITA Airways flight, with Raj sitting the furthest away from any of us all by himself. That was clearly not going to work for him, so the rep did his best to rearrange things, but was unable to do more than get Raj and me seated together. He gave me the ITA booking number and advised arriving at Logan early to speak with the agent at the check-in counter to get the seating straightened out, but said he didn't foresee any issues with rearranging seating at the airport since he had noted Raj's special needs on our booking. I had high hopes for our experience based on this call. We had reserved a parking spot at Logan Central Parking in advance at a discounted rate, used the QR code to enter the garage, and proceeded to the ITA check-in desk for business class and premium economy in Terminal E. This is where things started going downhill. At the ITA check-in counter, the rep said that nothing could be done to seat us together, or even seat us in a 2x2 configuration, so if Raj got antsy, he'd be kicking his dad or his sister's seat instead of a complete stranger. We then proceeded to the TSA pre-check security line for Terminal E, where we were informed only Cole and Rena had TSA pre-check printed on their boarding passes, so only they were allowed to go through pre-check. That Raj and I could not. We'd have to go through the standard screening process. We'd added our KTNs when the tickets were booked and confirmed everything was set the day before, so we're not sure why that happened. The standard TSA screening process, quite frankly, sucks, especially when you're managing luggage and a special needs child, and then need to take off your shoes and remove your toiletries and every electronic device bigger than a phone, and somehow get the headphones off your kid's head without him freaking out about all the sudden loud sounds surrounding him. I also wish the Logan Terminal E TSA team was better trained on how to identify and screen those who have cognitive disabilities. Shouting at my son when he's too slow to comply with their requests is really not the way to handle things appropriately. My son has auditory and other processing delays, and had shut down with a sensory overload as soon as his headphones came off. We've never experienced this at other airports with other TSA checkpoints, and it really didn't make for the greatest start, unfortunately. We arrived at our gate, and I checked in with the gate agent as I was instructed to do for the pre-boarding request. As an aside, while Raj is extremely high functioning, the reason we request pre-boarding is because it's easier for everyone, not just our family, but the staff and other passengers too, if we can get him seated and reading on his Kindle before the chaos and noise of general boarding start. The gate agent loudly asked what was wrong with my 12-year-old son that required him to pre-board. There were several people staring at me by this point as I tried to explain that he's on the spectrum and getting him boarded when things are quiet and calm is better for him. He told me to come back and check in with him at a particular time for pre-boarding. When we checked in with him at the requested time, he directed us to get in line. And we then had 4 other agents question us about the pre-boarding request and ask why we were pre-boarding if we were not in business class. Leaving aside the fact that premium economy also receives priority boarding, this constant questioning of the pre-boarding request was without exception completely unacceptable, especially when noted on our booking as medically necessary. I don't care if you believe in developmental disabilities or not, I should never have had to disclose my son's medical condition in a public space in front of complete strangers. This may sound funny considering I'm talking about it on this video, but our audience is mostly family and friends. But for any folks we don't know that are watching, we tend to be pretty open and honest about Raj's challenges and triumphs and our family struggles to navigate life with a kiddo that has autism. That situation was embarrassing for us, and we tend to be pretty laid back and go with the flow most of the time. For families that are more private than we are, that situation is one they should never be placed in by airline agents. ITA Airways clearly needs to do more training for their staff on cognitive disabilities and on the airline Passengers with Disabilities Bill of Rights. There's plenty of information right on transportation.gov. Based on this initial experience, we would not pay to fly premium economy or at all with this airline again, but we still had a return flight booked with them. So, after all of that ugly, we'd like to end with more of the good. Our return experience was completely different thanks to a single ITA Airways employee. Her name is Chiara Rufino. There had been some issues preventing check-in for our flight from Rome back to Boston, and the lack of customer service leading up to the moment we arrived at the airport that morning in Rome were so frustrating. But from the moment we stepped up to her check-in counter, she was kind, patient, and professional. She made sure the pre-boarding request and TSA pre-check were noted on all of our boarding passes, and told us she would meet us at the gate prior to boarding to ensure everything went smoothly. True to her word, she was at the gate prior to the start of boarding and greeted us. She called us over when it was time for us to board, and as she was scanning our passes, I felt so overcome with emotion, I was almost in tears and wanted to hug her. While the plane was still an old Alitalia plane, not a new Airbus, the crew and service were fantastic, and our in-seat entertainment actually was working. Thanks to Chiara and the return flight experience, we may actually consider flying with ITA in the future depending on price and itinerary.